Alright, so welcome to day 2 of my trip of the Trent-Severn Waterway. It's about 6:15 a.m. on Sunday the 30th of September, and here I am at the campsite where I camped last night. Yesterday on day 1 I paddled from the shore of Lake Simcoe to this campsite, which is located at the top of the Kirkfield Lock Station. I'm currently working on getting everything packed up so I can get a nice early start on a long day of paddling, where I'll continue to the community of Finland Falls. Everything's looking very calm and still this morning. Quite a contrast from that very windy day that I had yesterday. Here's one final look at the Kirkfield Lock Station before I head out this morning. Alright, so I've got my campsite fully packed up, and over here I've got the canoe all loaded up with my belongings. Now all I need to do is get inside and start paddling down the canal that way. So the route today will begin with a man-made canal leading to Mitchell Lake, which has an island in the middle of it. After another section of canal, I'll paddle across Balsam Lake, which is a significantly larger lake with a much bigger island in the middle. Towards the east end of Balsam Lake, I'll enter the Rosedale River and pass through the Rosedale Lock into Cameron Lake. After diagonally crossing Cameron Lake, I'll reach the community of Finland Falls, where I'm planning on camping at the log station tonight. Alright, so I'm saying goodbye to that campsite over there, and here I begin my way, heading down the canal and straight into the sun. Alright, so I've traveled about 700 meters so far and managed to find some shade from the sun over here towards the left side of the canal, and you can see that this canal was constructed here by excavating sedimentary rock. Keeping me company in this quiet canal, there's a double-crested cormorant and a great blue heron. Alright, so I've now reached the point where the canal opens up into this lake. This lake is called Mitchell Lake, and much like Canal Lake that I paddled through yesterday, this is a lake that was sort of artificially created when they built some dams in order to complete the Trent-Severn Waterway. And also much like Canal Lake, there's a road which crosses through the middle of it that has a bridge that I'll be passing underneath of. So there's that road I was talking about. And there's the bridge where I'll be passing through, and there's the rest of Mitchell Lake over there. I'm guessing it's quite a shallow lake, just like Canal Lake was yesterday. So just after I passed the bridge, I docked the canoe over here, and I got off onto the land here, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break to have some breakfast. So I've got my campsite overnight oats that I prepared for myself last night, and some orange juice to go with it, and I'll also put some sunscreen on because so far there seems to be almost no clouds in the sky and the sun is shining very brightly. Alright, that oatmeal really hit the spot, and I've got sunscreen on myself, so hopefully I won't burn today. And I'm ready to continue my paddle across the other half of Mitchell Lake. Things seem to be really calm and still on this lake, and much like yesterday morning, I haven't yet seen any boats on the water yet. Alright, so I've made my way into this little bay of Mitchell Lake, which is going to lead me towards the canal that'll take me over to Balsam Lake. And while I'm paddling, I'm listening on my portable AM/FM radio to a local radio station out of Lindsay called Bob FM, and they're playing oldies radio this morning. So I've just passed underneath Fenelon Road, and the lake is now narrowed into this canal, which, as I said before, will take me to Balsam Lake. So I've got some company in the canal this morning. It's nice and calm and peaceful in here, and there's some nice shade over here on the right side of the canal that I've been enjoying paddling through. It's not particularly hot today, but with the sun, not being covered by any clouds, I'm finding it pretty intense, so I'm enjoying the shade while I can. Alright, so the time is now just after 10 a.m. and I've traveled about 8 kilometers so far. And so far I'm just absolutely loving this paddle this morning. It's just so nice and quiet and peaceful, and canoeing through the canals like this, where they got these big trees on either side and the rock faces, and just so nice and calm and peaceful. Aside from those two boats that I passed not too far back there, it's been completely me having this whole waterway to myself. Up ahead I can just barely see the canal is starting to open up into Balsam Lake, so we'll see what new challenges Balsam Lake offers. Alright, so I've now reached the point where the canal opens up, and I'm now in Balsam Lake, which you can see here, quite a quite a large lake compared to anything I've been paddling through so far. Over in that direction over there, there's a provincial park called Balsam Lake Provincial Park, which is just sort of around that point that you can see straight ahead. I'm not going to be heading that way though. I'm going to be heading over in this direction. That's where the canal picks up and continues. So I've started to make my way across the lake. I started back over there, and I'm shooting for a point on the horizon over there, which I really can't see. There's a point that I need to get around, because the land that's straight ahead is a peninsula, so I need to get around that to be able to get to the part of the lake where the canal continues. As I'm paddling, there's a crosswind, so the wind is coming at my side, so I'm pretty much going perpendicular to the wind, which I guess could be worse. But I'm really glad to have my GPS for navigation because, like I said, it's really hard to know exactly where to shoot for on the horizon, and it's, you know, quite a far distance across. Alright, so I'm more than halfway across this bay of the lake, and there's a small little island over there called Ant Island, which I'm pretty close to. With the waves coming over from this side, the canoe is, you know, rocking back and forth from side to side quite a bit. So to lower the likelihood of capsizing, tipping over, I'm sitting down inside the canoe as opposed to sitting on the, you know, on the seat. All right, so I made it across that long stretch of the lake, and I've just come around to the other side of that peninsula where it's a little bit shaded over here. And I'm just going to take a little bit of a break here in the canoe, sitting next to this dock here, just to recharge a little bit, because that found that quite tiring paddling across there, and a little bit scary just because pretty much I'm going perpendicular to the waves, so the waves are sort of rocking the boat kind of constantly as you're going along. I did my best to get low in the canoe so that I was not, you know, less likely for it to tip. But still, you know, you're pretty much in the middle of the lake, far away from land for quite a while. So yeah, I just wanted to take a little bit of a break here. Yesterday I had all those locks that I was going through, so I naturally had a break every now and again. But today I just want to try and force myself to take some breaks so that I don't get too tired throughout the day, and you know, so I continue to enjoy what I'm doing. The next place that I'm going over there, that's the land that you can see straight ahead. That's an island. It's called Grand Island. And the place where I join the canal again is sort of on the other side of there. So the most direct route to get there is pretty much to go straight across, and then I'll hug that side of the island there until I get to the other end of the lake. The Provincial Park is somewhere back over that way. It's way too far to be able to see, but it's definitely over that way. I definitely underestimated how big Balsam Lake actually is. Alright, so I've made it to Grand Island now, and I'll paddle my way along following the shoreline for the next little while. Water is much calmer here because the island is acting like a natural shelter from the wind and the waves, which are coming from up the lake. So yeah, looking forward to having a calmer bit of paddling for the next little bit here. As the name suggests, Grand Island is quite a big island. Seems to have lots of cottages on it. And the island has no road access, so everything that you see on it was brought here across this water by boats. Alright, so I've reached the edge of where I'm going on Grand Island, and now we need to cross over to the far shore. Up that way there's a road bridge, and that's the one that I'm going to be going underneath of. So that's ultimately where I need to get to, but I'm going to take the short way across. I'm just going to go straight across there, and then I'll hug that shoreline to get up to there. And I'm doing that because there's quite a strong north wind, as you probably can hear from the sound on the microphone. And I don't, you know, if I have to paddle straight into that for a long time, it's going to be pretty exhausting. And I'd rather, you know, minimize my time spent in the middle of the lake. All right, so I paddled from there, and I'm now over here on the mainland, and I just got to follow this shoreline until I get to that bridge. Although, as you can see, I'll be fighting the wind to get there. All right, so I've reached the end of the lake where that bridge is, and that's where I'm heading now. So there's the sign for Lock 35, Rosedale, but it must be somewhere up ahead because I don't see it quite yet. I know it's somewhere in this little river up here. So this river here has a couple of marinas in it. That's the Balsam Lake Marina, and up ahead that's the Rosedale Marina. So over there to the left I can see the dam, and over to the right, which is where I'm heading, that's where Lock 35 Rosedale is, and that will let me down to the next level lower, which will be Cameron Lake. So it looks like I'm going to have company in the lock with me this time. So this lock is different than the other ones that I was going through yesterday. And you can see the gates are closing on their own. There's no staff member who's winding them to close them. Alright, so you can see we're starting to go down here. Oh, well, that was pretty fast. This is not a very high elevation change from Balsam Lake to Cameron Lake. Alright, so I'm through the lock and that way is Cameron Lake. But before I brave those waters, I'm going to stop here for my picnic lunch. So from this angle here, you can get a much better sense of the water level difference. It seems to be only about a meter. So from my spot here on the canal, I'll be having this stuff here for lunch. So I've got this can of spicy Thai chili tuna, and that's going to go on to a couple slices from this bread. Probably have an apple with it as well, and if I still have room for dessert, I've got some of that fudge that I bought yesterday, which has melted a little bit, but I'm sure it's still perfectly good to eat. In fact, I'm sure it's delicious to eat. One of the keys with my trip here is I don't have any type of refrigeration, and I also don't have any type of cooking devices with me. So that means that I'll be eating, when I'm not eating in restaurants, I'll be eating food that's cold. So, cans like this small can of tuna is perfect because I can open it, I can eat the entire thing, and, just bring a loaf of bread that can last for, a week or so. So without too much trouble, I was able to get that tuna fit inside there, and looking forward to my lunch. Alright, so I stopped for about an hour or so and had a nice break, had some lunch. I also took the opportunity to refill some of my water because the log station where I camped last night had running water, but it was non-drinkable. It said you needed to boil it for 3 minutes, but this log station had drinkable water, so I decided to replenish my supply because I'm not certain that the place where I'm going tonight will have the same. Things seem to be very quiet with virtually no wind, at least here in the canal, but I suspect once I get into Cameron Lake that it'll be windy again. Alright, so this here is Cameron Lake, and right now I'm pointed exactly where I need to go, and conveniently the wind is right behind me, so I should be able to just use the wind to help me get diagonally across the lake. So I just paddled past a couple islands, and I'm getting pretty close to my destination, which is the Finland Falls Lock. And Finland Falls Lock is located in the community of Finland Falls, which is part of the city of Kawartha Lakes. So you can see, more developed than where I was camping last night. You can see there's the water tower straight ahead there, and I'm sure lots of other houses and businesses that I'll be able to check out soon. So my entry point into Finland Falls is between that triangle and that square, but I also noticed this swing bridge over here to the left, which probably was for a railway that no longer runs, so they leave it open all the time. So as I suspected, yep, that swing bridge definitely is no longer operating. So, welcome to Finland Falls. So this is very different than any of the other locks that I've been to. The area is much more developed. Looks like Finland Falls even has a bike share. Alright, so I purchased my camping permit and now I'm in the lock heading down. This is a really big lock compared to the ones that I was in earlier. I mean, of course, aside from Kirkfield, but definitely bigger than the one that I was in earlier today, and bigger than the others that I did at the beginning of yesterday. Alright, so we made it down to the bottom, or at least very close to the bottom. Definitely a big lock. Alright, now the gates are open and I'm heading my way out. Alright, so after I came out of the lock there, I came out into here and I looped around and I've parked the canoe right here. And I've already purchased my camping permit, and the place where I'll be camping will be right over here. It's a nice view of the falls. So I've now got my canoe out of the water and my tent set up over here. And this is one of the places you're allowed to camp, so I decided to camp at the bottom of the lock, as you can see over here. And the reason for that is because tomorrow morning I'll be continuing my journey, and they don't start running the lock until 9 a.m. and I'd like to get started before then, because of course I'm going to be continuing my way down over there. Now, one thing that I've realized on this trip is that privacy levels when you're camping are not quite the same as what I'm accustomed to, because really this camping spot, which as I said, it's one of the places you're allowed to camp with my permit that I have, it's pretty much just in a municipal city park where all kinds of people are just visiting, enjoying the outdoors, and a lot of people are fishing. So I got my tent all organized and had a little bit of a rest, but now I'm going to go and explore a bit more around Finland Falls. So here you can see the falls that Finland Falls gets its name from, and the falls seems to take sort of 2 steps down. Certainly lots of sedimentary rock around here. So you can see down there, those are where the lock gates are, and that's the lock that I came through earlier and way down in this cavern. I paddled my way out that way, and this is really right in the heart of Finland Falls. There's the main downtown right there. When I came through the lock, there was lots of people up here who were watching and waving to me. So this is what the top of the lock looks like, and had I been going the other direction, of course I would have chosen to camp up here, which would have given me a little bit more privacy. Now unfortunately, due to COVID-19, the regular washrooms are closed, and the replacement washrooms are these porta potties. Good thing I replenished my water supply at Rosedale. Alright, so I've taken a walk around Finland Falls and I've decided where I want to eat dinner, and it's not this place. But before I go and have dinner, I'm gonna try out some of these bike share bikes that they have available for renting. Alright, so here we go exploring Finland Falls on a bike. So I'm beginning my ride by heading south and crossing the bridge over the falls. For some perspective, there's my tent down there at the bottom. Here I'm riding past Finland Falls Secondary School, which has an old stone building which dates back to 1885. I made my way down towards the far south end of Finland Falls, where there's a few restaurants and big box stores. It certainly is handy having a Home Hardware and Canadian Tire so close to where I'm camping, not that I actually need to buy anything tonight. I found my way into this gravel trail, which follows the historic path of the railway which used to cross that swing bridge that I paddled past earlier. So now I've made my way back to the river, and I'm crossing over to the north side of Finland Falls. This second bridge spans the canal that I paddled through after exiting the lock, and just beyond it is the main downtown strip of this community. I pedaled through it and also explored some of the residential neighborhoods of Finland Falls. The way that this bike share works is that you pay in half-hour increments, so I wanted to ride as many streets as possible within a single 30-minute session. I found my way over to another segment of the same rail trail that I was riding earlier, which took me south alongside Cameron Lake. I believe this trail is nearly continuous all the way from Lindsay to Halliburton, although I'm sure most of it isn't paved like this. Here I can see where the train used to cross the old swing bridge, which has now been transformed into a lookout point over the lake. After a bit more exploring, I made my way back to the harbor and checked the bike back into the station. So I have a long tradition of always getting Thai food at least once on my trips, and tonight was the night that I decided to do that on this trip, so I got some takeout from this place called Orchard Bistro Thai Cuisine. So this is the park where I didn't camp because it was the top of the lock, and I'm back here, and this is where I'm gonna enjoy my dinner, sitting at this picnic bench here, enjoying the sunset over Cameron Lake. So what I ordered was red curry Thai beef, and of course some rice to go with it. So here's a better look at the falls, and I was reading some of these information panels over here and learned that there's a hydroelectric generating station here, which has a nameplate capacity of 2.6 megawatts, and underneath where I'm sitting is where all the machinery that operates that is. They have these little glass windows where you're supposed to be able to see through, but they're kind of fogged up and difficult to see. But from up here, if you look down, you can certainly see where the water is exiting the hydroelectric generating station. It certainly looks like more water is coming out there than what's actually coming through the falls over there. And also of note, my campsite is down there, and I'm very glad to see that my tent and canoe are still there. Alright, so back here at my campsite, I'll be signing off for day 2. Another really enjoyable day of paddling. I paddled about 24.5 kilometers, which is now my new all-time record for longest distance solo paddled in a day. Very different paddling today, mostly characterized by crossing those two fairly large lakes, Balsam Lake and Cameron Lake, and kind of unique to what I was going through yesterday in that the canal is sort of connected to sort of the two long sides of the lake, which means that if you want to hug the shore to get across, you need to go really far around the lake to actually get there. So of course I cut across, and you know, that's the first time I've really paddled, you know, straight across a big lake like that, where really, I mean, it's only a few, you know, maybe 3 or 4 kilometers that you're going, but that's a good, you know, nearly an hour that you're out in the middle of the lake, far away from shore. So that was a new experience, and I'm definitely looking forward to what I'm going to do tomorrow, which should mostly be just hugging the banks of the bigger lakes that I'm going through. But anyways, I'll just sort of give you a preview of where I'll be going tomorrow. This is the way out of Finland Falls into Sturgeon Lake. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed joining me for episode number 2 of my Trent-Severn Waterway journey on my canoe. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.